Welcome, everyone, to today's webinar. Our webinar today is titled The AI for Financial Services Marketing Blueprint. And like some other webinars that we have done this past week, this webinar is breaking down key findings from an exclusive report that we at Marketing AI Institute created in partnership with Drift. Drift is a conversational AI leader that provides AI tools that help you have the right conversation with the right people at the right time across all different types of channels that your business operates on. And in the report and during today's webinar, we're going to talk about a lot of ways that marketers in financial services specifically can actually supercharge their marketing productivity and performance using AI. Before we dive in, a couple quick housekeeping notes. We are going to provide you with a full ungated copy of the report via email after this webinar. However, if you want the report sooner, at the end, we're going to provide a link to the report, which you can use to download it at the end of this presentation. Second, we are going to do some Q&A at the end and discussion between myself and Kathy about some of the main topics that we covered today. So if you have any questions at all, drop them into the chat, drop them into the Q&A portion of the toolbar at the bottom of your screen, and we will try to field as many of those as we can during the Q&A section.
Always my favorite part.
Same.
No offense to your amazing presentation.
No, none taken. It's mine too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just quickly introducing our presenters today. My name is Mike Kaput. I am the Chief Content Officer at Marketing AI Institute, and I'm joined by Kathy McPhillips, our Chief Growth Officer. Now, there are lots of new people in our audience and on the webinar today, so I wanted to take a quick minute to introduce you to what we do here at Marketing AI Institute. We are a media event and online education company. Our entire reason for being in business is to make AI accessible, approachable, and actionable for marketers and business leaders across the globe. And we've actually been doing that since way back in 2016, well before kind of ChatGPT and generative AI have taken the world by storm. Now, we're not machine learning engineers or data scientists of any type. We're marketers and business people by trade. We actually spun out of a marketing agency that used to be owned by Marketing AI Institute's founder and CEO, Paul Raitzer. And at that time, we were kind of trying to figure out how could we use AI to improve the marketing results we were trying to get for our clients. And we had quite a few clients who are in financial services. So in the process, we had spent years researching and testing AI technology and learning how to apply AI to marketing, both for our clients and for ourselves. And we shared everything that we were learning along the way, which is how Marketing AI Institute was born. Now, if you fast forward to today, it's been quite the journey. We've come quite a long way. We are an industry-leading source of AI education. And this year, we're on track to have about 400,000 people consume content on our website, visit the website. We've got 40,000 business leaders from top brands who are subscribed to our content. We have one of the top podcasts, top 3% of podcasts in the world. We're right now at about 25,000 downloads a month and quickly growing. And we have thousands of people who have taken our free and paid AI education. That includes our free intro to AI class or classes in our AI Academy. And we've also had them attend one of our virtual or in-person events, including our annual Marketing AI conference, MACON. That conference just wrapped up here in person at the end of July in Cleveland, Ohio, where we are based. And we're already selling tickets for MACON 2024. So really, we help other marketers and businesses do what we've done for ourselves and continue to do for ourselves, growing the Institute, understand and apply AI to business and marketing operations. So let's talk about how we're going to help you do that today. Over the next 40 or so minutes, we're going to talk about what is your AI opportunity as a financial services marketer? How is it going to actually help you improve your career and your company? What use cases are there to explore for AI in financial services marketing? What are some suggestions on top tools you may want to explore on your own? And how do you actually assess AI vendors once you go off on your own after this webinar to adopt and vet AI technology? We'll end all of this with a Q&A and discussion with myself and Kathy, fielding some of your common questions, and then we'll wrap everything up. So let's dive in. Let's talk about you and your AI opportunity. To understand how AI can actually help you enhance your productivity, creativity, and performance, it first helps to understand what are we actually talking about when we talk about artificial intelligence. If you ask 10 different AI experts for a definition of AI, you're going to get 10 different answers. Now, our favorite definition of AI comes from a guy named Demis Hassabis. Demis actually founded an AI company called DeepMind that was bought quite some time ago by Google, and it forms the backbone of Google's AI efforts today. And Demis says that AI is the science of making machines smart. Now, you can simplify this even further. You can substitute the word machines with the word software, because in every instance moving forward, the encounters you have with artificial intelligence will be through smarter software. You're going to use software that is progressively going to be infused with AI that will make it smarter in ways that your software is not today. Your software will soon be able, if it isn't already, will be able to learn and adapt, make recommendations, make predictions, and build plans, and do all sorts of high-level cognitive tasks that traditional software cannot do. By traditional software, I mean non-AI software, which is all the software we've used historically over the last 20 or so years to do business and do marketing. And that software historically only does what you tell it to do and nothing else. When it's done doing what you tell it to do, it doesn't get better, it doesn't get smarter, and it does not help you improve. The only way it gets better and smarter is if you personally get better and smarter and give it smarter plans. That is not the future we are headed into with artificial intelligence. So you can think of AI, the term, as an umbrella term for all these tools and technologies that make machines, that make software smart. The primary subset of AI that you'll hear a lot about is machine learning. That is when data goes in, a machine learns from the data and then uses what it learns to improve its outputs. So, for instance, if you are sending an email to 10,000 people in your database, using machine learning, a machine can learn from all the data involved in sending that email. For instance, data like opens, clicks, engagement, conversions. All of that data can be used by machine learning powered AI systems to make your next email sends much smarter. So if you think about it, the machine can actually learn what is working and what's not from things like opens and clicks based on historical data. That's something your traditional software is functionally unable to do. All your traditional software does is send an email in bulk and provide a few basic metrics on what happened. It doesn't improve anything. It doesn't learn anything. It doesn't give you any type of recommendations on what to do differently. So machine learning is literally a machine learning from different types of data in order to get smarter. Now, another common term you'll hear is deep learning. This is the process of giving machines human-like capabilities. And deep learning is what powers all this cool generative AI stuff we've seen in the last 12 to 16 months. Over the last decade, deep learning has been kind of quietly advancing behind the scenes. And this is why we've had this explosion of tools seemingly out of nowhere, like ChatGPT and all these cool image, text, and video generation tools. These are all types of deep learning. Now, one way to think about AI that we find helpful is thinking about three broad macro categories of AI that you'll see time and time again in different applications across marketing in financial services and every other industry. Now, the first of these is prediction. So prediction is when we are having AI use historical data to make forecasts about the future. Now, this can include a range of different things like forecasting, pattern recognition, personalization, or recommendation. Now, if you think about recommendation, we see that all the time in predictive AI from places like Amazon. Amazon's been using predictive AI for years to look at what we buy and recommend what we might want to buy next. You can actually see a practical example of prediction AI in this screenshot here. This comes from a tool called Persado. Persado will actually analyze individual behavioral profiles and proprietary data on what motivates people from a language perspective, and actually predict which language they would prefer to see that they would find most motivating. So different people will see different messages based on what AI predicts about them. And of course, using more motivating language for an individual will encourage them to take action, like click on a button or make a purchase. Vision AI is another one of these core applications you'll see time and time again. Now, back in early 2022, we saw kind of an explosion of vision AI tools that can generate images and video. You can see one here called Midjourney. I give it a text prompt, and it automatically generates a range of photorealistic images from scratch in seconds. Now, Vision AI can also encompass things like object detection in images and video. We can actually see what's going on in images. A machine can understand what it is seeing and take action based on that. It also includes things like facial recognition. When you unlock your iPhone with your face, that is Vision AI at work. Now, just to give you a sense of how fast all this stuff is evolving, this is a timeline of the outputs from Midjourney, that tool I just showed you. And it goes back all the way to February 2022 when V1 was released here on the left. You can see that the initial image looks pretty good. It's pretty impressive. We're able to do that in February 2022. But fast forward just 15 or 16 months to May 2023, far on the right, version 5.1 of Midjourney is unrecognizable. It is almost photorealistic, and we've already got version 5.2 at the moment. Basically, these tools are doubling in their capabilities right now every 12 to 16 months. Now, the other big application or area of AI to talk about is one you have most likely seen quite a bit about recently. This is language AI. This is what powers ChatGPT. These are large language models with user interfaces layered over them that make it possible to generate a range of text and language and even speech and audio using artificial intelligence. So these tools and models have gotten scarily good at writing long-form content, producing long-form bits of language, and even to a degree, reasoning and creativity. Now, the whole point of going through those is to show you that not only are there these big macro areas of AI that are applied everywhere, they're being applied directly into the software that you already use. So this isn't just about brand new, shiny tools that are coming out that you can go buy, though there are plenty of those. AI is now being infused directly into the core tech stack that almost every business and marketing operation uses. So just 5 months after ChatGPT's release, HubSpot, a major marketing automation platform, baked a version of it right into its platform called ChatSpot. You can now chat with your HubSpot data. HubSpot also released generative AI features, so you can now generate copy and images right within the platform. You don't need to go buy another tool or learn something new. This is rolling out to HubSpot's 170,000 plus customers. And the reason this matters is because even if your teams can barely spell AI today, every single employee is going to need to know how to use it and be very exposed to it very, very soon if they're not already. Other examples of this include Salesforce. Just the same week, actually, HubSpot announced ChatSpot. Salesforce debuted Einstein GPT, across every aspect of Salesforce. You can now use AI to write emails, schedule meetings, and respond to customers in Salesforce products. Google is a major player in this space. If you use any Google Workspace app, it is now getting infused with very powerful AI. That includes using, right within Google Docs, the ability to generate content, rewrite it, summarize it, and manipulate it in a variety of ways. Now, you'll also be able to use generative AI to create slides from simple text prompts in Google Slides. And AI will soon help you organize all your data in Google Sheets. All you'll have to do is give the sheet a command, and it will execute it to the best of its ability using nothing more than natural language prompts. Microsoft is the same way. Microsoft Copilot is in development and about to be released across Microsoft 365 apps. It will serve a similar function. Whether you use Word, Teams, Excel, PowerPoint, etc., you will have an AI Copilot that simply based on natural language prompts will be able to go achieve outputs and create work for you, again, in the software that I guarantee you all of you are already adopting and paying for, especially when it comes to financial services. And Microsoft, I am guessing quite a few companies have licenses to these tools. Now, all of this is really impressive, and I want to emphasize that despite the innovation we've already seen and the explosion of tools, this is the least capable AI you will ever use. It is so important to realize that even as we discuss all these really interesting use cases and potential abilities today, it is still just day one when it comes to artificial intelligence. We are likely looking at a future of rapid and exponential innovation in AI. This presents huge opportunities, though. It may be a little scary, but there are a lot of opportunities here. I mean, with AI, we can do things, especially in marketing, that we were previously unable to do. We can deliver true one-to-one personalization and experiences at scale. And these are the personalization and experiences that modern consumers demand and expect. We can, as we've already seen, do things that were previously unimaginable when it comes to creation and creativity. And importantly, we can drive efficiency, revenue, and profits that leadership demands. Now, I want to emphasize as well that this isn't aspirational. This isn't like, oh, way in the future, this will happen. In marketing alone, we're already seeing the vast majority of marketers deploy these tools. This chart comes from our very recent 2023 State of Marketing AI report. We just released this. You can find it on our website. And we asked as part of this report where we surveyed 900 plus marketers, how would you best describe your personal use of AI tools? 98% are using AI in some way. 45% say they're experimenting. 29% say it's already infused into their daily workflows. Marketers are driven to use this technology. They're already deploying it across a range of use cases and roles. This is why we often say and repeat that 80% of what marketers and knowledge workers at large do every single day is going to be intelligently automated to some degree by AI in the next 1 to 2 years. And very few are prepared for the magnitude of this change. Now, that doesn't mean 80% of jobs are getting wiped out by AI. It just means that already we're starting to see that we have the tools across so many different use cases to augment our work using AI in probably about 80% of the domains in which we all do knowledge work. That includes everything from writing to creation to code. Herein lies the AI opportunity for you and for your colleagues. The people that embrace AI have the best chance to create opportunities for themselves and their colleagues by getting ahead of the curve and starting to deploy this technology across their daily work and their daily roles. So how do you start doing that? Let's talk about some specific use cases for AI across some common areas of marketing and financial services. But before we get into the very specifics of this, I want to give you a simple but useful framework to think about how AI use cases in any area of marketing or business that you do could look. So even if I don't mention over the next few slides your specific use case, you can use this framework to identify the best candidates for AI in your own work. And it's really at its core quite simple. You want to consider what you do every day, every week, every month, or every quarter. And for each task or activity that you write down or think about in your head, I want you to ask 4 questions. Is it data driven? Does it use data in some way to produce an outcome? This could be as simple as I do website reporting every week. I report to internal or external stakeholders how much web traffic we had, what the changes in it were. That is a data-driven task that could be that AI could be applied to. Is it repetitive? Does it do the same set of steps over and over to achieve a goal? Is it predictive? Are we making a prediction in any way? Now, that can be quite a wide net here that we cast when we ask, is it predictive? If you really think about it, a lot of things that we do as marketers are predictive. This could be as simple as blog post headlines. Anytime we brainstorm a blog post headline, we are predicting what someone will want to click on. Is it generative? If you are generating any type of image, writing, audio, or code, you have something that is generative. And you don't need to answer yes to all these questions to have a really solid use case for AI. In fact, if you answer yes to even one of them about an activity that you're doing regularly, you probably should be exploring AI to apply to that use case. Now, in financial services specifically, there are tons of possible use cases. We obviously cannot cover all the dozens, if not hundreds of them today, but we're going to sample a few of them because across kind of common categories of marketing, you can start using AI to do things like automatically outline, generate, and summarize long-form content assets. So in financial services, this is a huge valuable use case. I mean, we have so many ebooks, reports, maybe complex financial documents that we can literally drop into AI tools today and have it summarize it in simple language, have it query the content, say over hundreds of pages of like an earnings report or a dense financial data set. And we can actually start extracting data and get this time to knowledge down to very few minutes of actually processing long form content that we can then use in our own marketing assets. We can do things like generate outlines, scripts, and transcripts. We all do in financial services, I'm betting, quite a few hosted webinars or webinars with partners. You can actually be using AI at every step of the way. We do it for our own webinars sometimes to dramatically streamline how long it takes you to do all the support activities related to webinars. And you can actually personalize content intelligently to a user's specific financial data or goals. Now, that's just one example, but think about applying this concept to anything you have data on. If you have robust customer data, you can start personalizing what people see on your website and in your marketing based on their unique characteristics. Now, when it comes to regulation and brand compliance, AI can do things like help you standardize messaging so that you're inclusive and compliant across all content assets. For instance, there's one AI writing platform out there called Writer, which we'll talk about again in a sec, that actually has a range of inclusion and compliance language built into the platform that you can tailor across your team. So everyone stays aligned on what words you're using, what language you're using as you talk to different types of customers. You can train chatbots to speak only in your approved brand voice or follow your own guidelines. You can program them to share specific resources or pass conversations over to a human when certain topics are mentioned. So not replacing the need for a rep to talk to people, but actually having AI augment human reps in order to get more done. And for internal team members, I mean, we've all looked at really complicated compliance or regulatory paperwork or contractual stuff that is really hard for people that aren't directly close to it to totally understand. We can use AI tools today to summarize very, very complicated topics with a lot of jargon and provide comprehensive summaries for our team to educate them on these topics. Social media is a huge area, both in financial services and in other industries, where marketers are getting great results using AI. We can use AI to automatically generate eye-catching, conversion-focused visuals based simply on a text prompt. No more need for you to be, the world's greatest artist or designer to create really interesting visuals. No need to rely necessarily only on stock photos either. And we can also use AI to automatically generate social posts from long-form content. So I'm betting some of the firms here are sitting on some really in-depth reports or ebooks or brochures. We can use AI to take that existing content and actually splice it up into a range of social media promotions. We can
Mike,
also
on that one, sorry to interrupt you, but on that one, a lot of the marketers aren't the financial experts. They're not the subject matter experts. So rather than reading this long form content or bothering the person who wrote it to say, what are some things I should pull out of here? What are some key phrases? We can use this technology to do that, which is a huge time saver. And it highlights some things we may not have thought of in the first place.
Absolutely. And it doesn't just have to be about using content you already have. I mean, again, think of what we've already talked about when it comes to AI's capabilities. It can use your data in really unique ways. So we can actually be using AI on our social media engagement data to figure out when should we be posting, what days and times make the most sense. AI can also be leveraged to prospect for new clients. It has the potential to, say, recommend the right financial product or offering at the right time to the right customers, again, based on the historical data and what we know about them. We saw in the example with Persado that AI can personalize one-to-one language to different prospects. You can also do this for offers at scale across different channels. And we can even use AI to identify and target new audience categories for your firm's solutions. So now that we kind of have a preview of kind of what use cases are possible in financial services marketing using AI, we can now dive into a few AI tools that we've seen that have dedicated financial services use cases if you want to get started kind of exploring this technology. Now, first up is Drift. So we mentioned Drift at the beginning of the webinar. Drift actually leverages client insights to help financial service organizations start the right conversation with the right person at the right time. So this is not just AI-powered chatbots, though those are a considerable part of what Drift offers, but basically you're talking about a 24/7 online concierge powered by AI that can do things like securely answer your clients' questions, surface resources, and engage with them anywhere and anytime in the world. And Drift does this all securely and compliantly and allows you to book online meetings with relationship managers very quickly. So again, an AI bot can help customers find what they're looking for if they don't want to talk to you, or find the right person when they do. So this goes across your entire website. And actually, not only are you chatting with people on your website, you're learning from those conversations. Drift's AI can actually extract insights from conversations being had, and over time, get better at talking to and qualifying these leads across your website at scale.
Mike, two things on that. One, Drift does integrate with many CRMs, so that's really beneficial to all of this information. In when you're talking with Drift is going back into your customers' profile. And then also you touched on compliance and how Drift is compliant. And I have a question for you at the end that actually is like, what questions do we ask when we're going to these technologies to say? So just think about that answer while you're talking. Like, how can we ensure that what they're saying is actually true and that we're doing right by our companies and our customers?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll dive into that for sure. As I bet you compliance and security, especially in financial services, are top of mind for, I'm sure, every single person on this webinar. So we'll talk a little bit in a minute here about some things you might want to think about as you are exploring AI. Demand base is another interesting AI-powered tool to take a look at. This is a smarter go-to-market suite powered by AI. And demand base actually allows you to make sense of all of your data, including both your data and external data and market signals, in order to put that into action. So by applying AI again to your data and other data sets in ways that humans just cannot analyze on their own, your team is actually empowered to spot opportunities faster and better understand where to focus your time and money across demand bases, AI-powered account intelligence. We also, like I mentioned at the beginning, AI is being infused into all these platforms and tools that you already use or that you use in other contexts to power your business. Eloqua is a very popular marketing automation platform, and it has a number of AI-powered functions. So I'd highly encourage everyone on this webinar, if you have not revisited in the last several months the functionality of your core systems, I would do so, because in the last 3 or so months, so many companies have started baking AI right into these tools. So in the case of something like Eloqua, they actually have AI-powered email fatigue analysis. They can optimize your send time. They can optimize your subject lines. They can conduct predictive lead scoring and produce account engagement scores, all with AI. So this helps you highly personalize the emails and communications that you are sending out daily through maybe a platform that you're already using, but were unaware that AI was powering. Microsoft 365 is, of course, another example of this. If you have any type of Microsoft product, you probably need to be talking about, as a company, how to be leveraging Microsoft 365 Copilot. Now, this is rolling out or is about to roll out across different Microsoft products, so Word, Excel, Outlook, Teams, and others. And Copilot is going to help you do all those generative AI tasks that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. So you can use it in Word to automatically generate first drafts or entire blog posts, for instance. You can use it in Excel to help you visualize data, and it can actually be leveraged in Teams for meeting summaries and suggested next steps. So you can make all this stuff you're already doing in Microsoft products much faster, much more productive, and much more effective. So I'd highly recommend, if you have not had these conversations as a company already, to start looking into Microsoft 365 capabilities with AI.
I'd also say, if you haven't seen the Microsoft Copilot demo, you can find it online. It just shows you so many things on what's possible, and it might help you explain to your team, here's why this is important. And it's not like this AI is a big scary word. It's like, this is getting embedded into all the things that we're doing. How can we take advantage of all of it?
Yep. So we mentioned briefly Persado, but I want to highlight it again, because if you do any type of marketing messaging using written language, this is one of the leading platforms out there to be able to actually personalize your language to what actually motivates prospects and customers. So I don't know of many other solutions that are actually using proprietary data to understand which types of words and phrases motivate people to take action. You can see in this screenshot here, we are including language that motivates the person looking at it. Things like, oh, we realize that, say, Kathy is motivated by language that has more narrative or is more descriptive. We're going to automatically include more of that in an ad to her than we would to me and my language preferences. So this, of course, results in much, much better conversion rates, much better results from anything that you are writing and promoting online. Tableau is another existing platform that many, many people use. And obviously, we're using it for visual analytics and to help you see and understand your data to solve problems. But what not everyone might realize is that we now have Tableau GPT. This is powered by Einstein, which is Salesforce's AI. And this allows you to literally prompt Tableau to create stunning and informative data visualization. So I don't know about anyone else on this call, but I am not a fan of creating charts and dashboards manually. So this is a answer to my prayers over here when it comes to being able to actually get better insights and visually appealing ones out of our data and rather than slamming my head against a wall or like staring at a spreadsheet trying to do this myself. So Tableau also has a feature called Pulse that is an AI-powered insights generator. So this will actually offer you personalized summarizations of your data. So everyone on your team gets their own summary of changes in data in real time. So you're never going to miss a beat when it comes to website trends, for instance. And then I briefly alluded to Writer. There are many, many different AI writing tools out there. One of the reasons we highlight Writer is because it does all of the AI writing tasks that the other tools do with a very, very high degree of power. I mean, you can do things like automatically generate, edit, or repurpose content with this platform, but it's actually built from the ground up to be focused on teams and to be compliant and enterprise grade. So unlike some of the other tools out there, Writer is actually compliant with a number of financial services regulations, and they have many financial services customers. So you can actually be using this and deploying this across your team to not only generate, edit, and repurpose content, but also keep everyone compliant, keep them in line with regulations when it comes to what you can and can't say, and stay streamlined and standardized on your content, your voice, and your core messaging. We use Writer ourselves and definitely would recommend, if you are trying to deploy some type of AI content generation or editing tool, take a look at Writer. All right, so before we get to our Q&A portion here, I want to leave you with some advice on how to assess AI vendors. Now, we just went through a sampling of a few tools that you might want to look into, but as I'm sure you've seen, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of other vendors that use AI to make every single area of marketing smarter. More and more are appearing by the day as well, because investment dollars are flowing into the AI space. So this really raises this question of, as you're kind of drinking from this fire hose of AI tools, how do you evaluate AI vendors moving forward? So first, no matter who you talk to, you want to challenge them to explain in simple terms how their technology works. And specifically, how is it actually smarter than what you're doing now? Not all AI is created equal. As I'm sure you've realized, AI can be somewhat of a hype or a buzzword term that is used by companies to, charge premium prices. Just because a vendor claims that AI is present in a solution doesn't necessarily mean it's smarter than what you're doing today. You're going to really want to challenge vendors to prove to you why an AI tool is fundamentally smarter than your current process or technology. If they can't clearly explain how they're using AI, honestly, it might be time to talk to another vendor. Now, no matter how complex the AI technology that you are evaluating, the factors that you want to hone in on when it comes to AI are actually fairly simple. First, you want to ask yourself, how can this technology help us achieve increased lift and efficiency? Basically, how is it going to save us time and money? Second, you want to ask, how could this technology help us achieve an increased lift in performance? How can it make it more likely that we achieve our business goals? You don't have to have both of these for AI to be valuable. Often we see companies get started with AI solutions that simply provide efficiency lifts that help them do what they're already doing faster, better, cheaper, and that makes them worth buying. You definitely, over time, though, will be adopting more and more solutions that actually help you fundamentally achieve your business goals in better and different ways. So you just want to make sure, as you are shopping around for AI vendors, that you can conclusively prove to yourself, your team, your leadership, that these tools are going to do one of these two things. And at every step of the way, when you're evaluating this technology, you want to ask yourself, what will the machine do and what will the marketer do? Because none of these tools, no matter how powerful, how advanced, none of them will allow you to click a button and sit back and have the machine do every single thing for you. Every single tool that we mentioned, every single tool out there, as of today, no matter how intelligent, requires a human in the loop at many parts of their operation. That's okay. That's by design, and that's actually mostly a good thing. You just want to understand that, because it can be easy to fall into the trap of thinking, oh, okay, it's AI. I'm not going to have to do anything. I'm not going to need any skills to actually get value out of this tool. So you just want to understand, what is the machine doing? What is the marketer doing, to ensure you have the good understanding of how your team needs to work hand in hand with the machine to get the results that are being advertised. So as we wrap up here, there are several questions you might want to consider asking vendors. Now, the best vendors we know are always happy to answer any and all questions like these. You don't have to ask every single one of these, but you may want to consider a few things to be learning more about that aren't directly related to, the exact feature in a tool that you're talking about. You might want to ask things like, does the company have a public roadmap for its AI capabilities? This can be especially important with the existing tech stack you already have, as you're asking about what AI capabilities are already in the tools you're paying for. It might also help you plan ahead to have a sense of what AI features are coming down the line. For instance, if Microsoft is about to release a feature that would be really, really helpful to you, it may be worth shelving your plans to buy a third-party tool. What is their position on ethics? I mean, when it comes to ethics, you really are trying to look for companies that at least appear to be taking seriously the very real ethical challenges that can arise when it comes to protecting customer data, remaining secure and compliant, and not misusing their technology in ways that would be unethical. I mean, everyone needs to consider this, but financial services especially, given the restrictions around how you're using customer data. And of course, how does a company help customers maintain security and compliance? It's probably question number one that you're asking of any vendor when it comes to being a financial services company. When it comes to the technology itself that you're looking at buying, you may want to ask just straight up, what are the primary use cases for the solution? Again, get clarity, go beyond the marketing, messaging, and jargon. How are the solutions smarter than traditional approaches and products? AI is really incredible, but it doesn't need to be applied to every single thing. If what you're doing already is no dumber than an AI solution, there might not be a motivation to change. Importantly, you want to ask, are there any minimum requirements to get value out of the technology? Some AI tools require a certain amount of data to function. So for instance, there are some AI ad tools out there that you need to be spending a minimum amount per month. There are some AI email tools out there where you need to send a minimum number of emails per month to actually use it. Now, you'll get that conversation out of the way pretty quickly, since a vendor's not going to sell you something that just won't work, but it is good to ask upfront. Last but not least, you want to ask some questions about your team, both of the vendor and of yourselves. I mean, again, with that human in the loop, your team is a critical, if not the most critical, part of this process. So as you're considering buying and adopting an AI solution, what type of in-house capabilities do you need to get value out of an AI tool that you're considering? What training does the team need? Now, not all these tools can be used just immediately without training. Does the vendor provide training? Sometimes the answer is no. So you may need to have a significant period of training to actually get value out of some of this technology. And of course, what does onboarding look like? Not all these tools can be fully deployed and activated on day one. Some of them require extensive onboarding. Now, that's not inherently a bad thing, but it's good to know going in, how long is it going to take us to start recouping our investment here? All right, now we're going to dive into some Q&A in just a minute here, but like I mentioned, you'll get an ungated version of the report that has a ton more info in it than I covered here. You'll get that via email after the webinar. If you are really chomping at the bit to go download it, you can do so using the URL on your screen right here. So I'll give you a second to take a look at that. If you want to jump in and download the report, go ahead and use that URL. And last but not least, I do want to give one more shout out to Drift. Drift is one of the solutions out there that is built for financial services and your unique needs. And financial services firms that use Drift's conversational AI actually are seeing on average 29% higher web conversion rates when they use Drift. And they are seeing an additional 2,500 qualified leads added on average to their web channels annually since implementing Drift. So if you are in the market for any type of conversational AI tool to personalize conversations on your website, you definitely want to give them a shout. All right, I'm going to stop sharing here. And Kathy, we are going to jump into some Q&A, see a bunch of chat and questions coming in. So let's get to it.
Let's get to it. Okay, I'm going to start with some light questions because we've got a few heavy ones in here too. John's asking, did you use any AI tools to create this presentation?
We did not. I can't say in the future we won't, but for these presentations, we really do want to make sure we are giving the most value possible and not just kind of mailing it in. Not to say generating slides with AI is bad, but we have a pretty specific flow and a pretty specific approach here that is somewhat unique, I would say, to the Institute and our partners that we kind of preserve here. So no, we didn't use any AI, and I don't think there's any AI images in there at all.
That you're right. There's not.
There could be. That would be a good way to do it. Like I'm happy to drop AI images in here, but when it comes to the actual message being communicated, that's all human.
Yes, that's all us, or you. Okay, Macy is asking, could you just explain Drift real quick? Is it a pop-up that is a chatbot at the bottom of the web page? Is that how that works?
Yeah, so they actually have what they call a conversational cloud that's operating not only across your website, but can operate across other channels. But one of the primary parts of that is, yes, like an intelligent chatbot that is popping up depending on certain demographic or website visitor factors that you're kind of programming into it in partnership with Drift. And it is actually having conversations with leads on your website and doing a bunch behind the scenes to qualify them and route them to the right people. So yeah, functionally, yes, it's AI, conversational AI that's popping up on a website.
Great, thank you. Okay, so this is a long question. So Dominique in the chat, she wrote, the problem with these formidable American tools is that they fall under the Cloud Act. Confidential corporate information sent to AI can therefore be captured and compiled by US government. And also someone asked, how does the proposed SEC rule impact your cases? And I wanted to read that real quick. Among other things, it would require broker dealers and investment advisors to eliminate or neutralize the effect of certain conflicts of interest associated with the use of AI. So I guess my question to you then from those two statements and questions is, how do I make sure that AI vendors I'm speaking with are actually compliant, especially in this regulated industry?
Yeah, so we kind of got into that a little bit in the questions to ask, but you need to be very, very clear up front the moment you have a conversation with one of these vendors about the exact compliance and regulatory regimes you are that you have to comply with, and you need to ask them point blank to document exactly how they remain compliant with that. I mean, you might want to consider asking questions like, what are your compliance certifications? How are transcribed customer conversations and interactions stored, if at all? How do you guarantee secure logins and access controls? So there's all sorts of questions I guarantee you your IT department or other stakeholders will have ready to go, or legal perhaps. But I would say when it comes to new rulings and things, especially, there's no scenario with buying this technology at a financial services firm where your legal team is not immediately involved, I would say. So I'm not going to give legal advice here because I'm not a lawyer. And even if I was, I probably wouldn't be a very good lawyer. I don't think so. I can't comment to what you should exactly do due to a newer or developing financial regulation, but your legal, we do consulting with large enterprises in other regulated or compliant spaces, and legal is a key stakeholder from day one.
And you had mentioned when we talked about this earlier about like, do they have a dedicated security team at that technology company? Like, are they prepared for all of this and making sure that all this data stays in the right hands?
Right.
So it's very, very important questions. Okay. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, but do we have any control over learned bias as we get into these customizations of some of these tools?
So in terms of, yeah, I mean, it's a big issue we didn't really touch too much on in this presentation is you got to realize that whether you build a model, customize a model, or buy something off the shelf, there's bias in every single AI model and tool of some type. Now, it's often unconscious, but it just skews towards certain patterns or outputs based on the data it's been trained on. So as you're thinking, this is a very big technical data science question. If you're building or customizing a model, you will want someone involved from your IT department or data science team to be actively thinking about how to mitigate bias in models that you are building or customizing. When it comes to off-the-shelf tools, really, it's just education about what biases exist. I mean, I've seen some very, very basic examples of like people have said, ChatGPT skews towards this type of language or doesn't think about this when it's producing an output. That's just one example. You really have to battle is understanding the tools you're using already contain bias.
Okay. So Steve asked a question and it actually ties into one of the questions I wanted to ask. Steve asks, what are some examples of stringing all these different vendors together? Is there like a mind map? And that actually aligns with my question of, you've worked with some amazing enterprise companies and, helping build an AI roadmap, figure out what use cases, what problems they're trying to solve, and they do an exercise. Can you kind of just share a little bit of what goes through that process?
Yeah, sure. I'll start off by saying building a comprehensive mind map of how all this fits together is not an easy or a short process. Like we spend months with organizations helping them build versions of that. But it all does start with use cases because, there's a reason we start with the use cases that are possible or at least interesting in financial services before we get into the vendors, because you can't use AI as a solution to every single thing, and you shouldn't start with a vendor necessarily. You should start with your organization's list of high-value use cases. And to start, and there's more to it than this, but as a kind of a really quick rule of thumb, we really just have people brainstorm what you are doing in your own role or in your own team every single day, week, month, year, quarter, whatever. And we work with people to get a very extensive list of tasks. These don't have to be tasks that they're doing with AI or anything like that. This is more just what are you actually doing in your organization? Then from there, we work with people over a few different steps to help them quantify what would be the value of making that use case more efficient, automating it entirely, or augmenting it with artificial intelligence. So really, as we walk people through thinking about how much time do we spend on these activities, each line item every month, how much do we spend trying to solve or do things in our organization? What kind of technology are we trying to use today to do that? And from some of these factors, you end up with a list of use cases ranked by both the value to intelligently automate them, for instance, with AI, and the ability to do so. So ability ends up being, let's talk through, does your team have the skills and the acumen to be able to apply tools to this use case? Do you have the budget for certain tools? So you very quickly get to a list where you can start ranking, what are my top use cases that would be valuable to solve? And of those, which ones am I most likely to be able to solve if an AI solution exists for them? And then from there, you start running very narrowly focused, very high probability of success pilot projects. So we work with organizations over months or even a year to deploy systematically AI pilots that are actually going to have the best chance of creating the highest ROI in the shortest amount of time.
Awesome. So I just threw, now I did, into the chat, our book website. Mike and Paul wrote a book last year, and halfway down that page, you'll see 2 templates that you could use to go through that exercise that Mike just talked about. And we've done it a lot with some of the projects we're doing with our podcast, with our social, with our event marketing for Macon. All of those, we went through that exercise ourselves and identified some key points where AI could assist us in a lot of those places. And then real quick, both Mark and Neil are asking about the presentation link. In a few hours, I'll send you the recording, the presentation link, and the blueprint, the ungated blueprint. So look for that in a couple hours. Okay, so we went through a lot of stuff Now, when people are in their organizations, who in financial services is like the best person or the best team or department to spearhead all of this?
That's a really good question. So I'm going to kind of answer it and take a step back in how to answer this, because a lot of people are like, okay, who should own AI? And it's like, the answer is it depends. And frankly, it's not always one owner. So many organizations, especially bigger ones that we're seeing and that we're working with, are forming AI councils, either informal or formal groups of people that are cross departmental that are figuring this stuff out for their own company. So an AI council is going to be, probably to start at least, many senior stakeholders across different areas of the business. This is not, I want to emphasize, this is not an IT department thing alone. They'll be critical. This is not go talk to your IT person about what we're doing with AI and tell them to go figure it all out. This is cross departmental. We've seen AI councils that have, director and VP level or C-suite people across marketing, operations, and IT. And often that cross collaboration really helps understand, okay, how are we actually going to deploy this stuff across the organization? Now, in financial services, legal is probably going to be your best friend on that AI council. So the legal team is going to be highly involved as well. But I don't know if there's going to be, at least at a large organization, especially, one person that owns this. It's going to be council of people working together to develop that AI roadmap and then figure out how to actually implement this technology in a safe, secure, compliant way.
Right. It was interesting at MACON this year. Jessica Ria from VMware talked about the AI council that she spearheaded or is spearheading right now. And one of the key people on their team is one of their newest hires.
Yeah.
So it's this young 23, I think, year old who was just so excited about it. So she stepped up. So I think Jessica is very dependent on her bringing a lot of excitement and energy and passion to this project. So it doesn't need to all be leadership.
Yeah, I want to emphasize there. It's a really good point. You're probably, if your leaders are all trying to figure this out, whether it's through an AI council or not. So no matter what level of the organization you're in, simply raising your hand by communicating your interest in and experimentation with AI, whether it's in your job or on your own, you'd be very surprised how far that can get you and what doors that can open. Because I guarantee you, no matter what anybody at your organization is saying or pretending to know, 99% of people out there are still trying to figure this out. And we have talked to organizations that are very sophisticated, very, very smart, that at the highest levels are still scrambling to figure out what to do about artificial intelligence. So if you are someone who is passionate or interested in AI in your own career, I would strongly urge you to communicate that to whoever your immediate superior is or whoever is working on this stuff in your company.
And I'm going to invite you all. I just dropped this link in the chat. Our community, we're about 4,000 people strong, and we're on Slack, and we're in there every single day. People are talking to each other. I know there are some financial services folks in that group. And as we all figure this out together, it's a great place to kind of navigate, bounce ideas off of people, ask for advice, share some stories, success stories. So we're all kind of figuring this all out together as we're going along. So
yeah, that's really important to note as well, is that no single person or organization, us included, has all the answers to this. I mean, that's the power of community conversations coming together, even like this, because it is going to require, honestly, it's going to take a village to figure this stuff out in any industry. So I would just encourage you, stay optimistic and realize that this is just the beginning. You don't have to have every single thing figured out tomorrow.
And there are a lot of things that they could be doing without, whether it's blog content or things like that, that you don't even have to work. Your data's not even, you're not even touching the data side of things. So there are a lot of places to get started if that's, as a first step.
And here's one last really interesting point from Thomas in the chat here. He's talking about his credit union's AI council already includes people from IT, marketing, business intelligence, and contact center. So that should give you a sense of the diversity of roles and people involved, because AI is very rarely, in my experience so far at least, applied in a silo, at least when it's seriously applied at an organization. There may be silos experimenting today, But organizations that are heavily investing in AI, it is going to have an effect on every single department.
All right, Mike, it's 1 o'clock, so we're going to sign off. But thank you so much. This has been a great week of learning, and I've learned so much from all 3 of these webinars: manufacturing, higher ed, and now financial services. So thanks. If anyone has any questions, let's stay in touch.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Mike.